This is the number one question that I get from people. How to reduce my waistline? This is a question which is in everybody's mind. Number one question in any talk that I go to, people ask me how to reduce my waistline. So, and which exercises to do. The another common concern that people come up to me with is, Ruma, I do like 100 crunches, but still I do not see my waistline going down. What is the problem? So we are going to talk about that, because fat is I shouldn't call it with a bad name, but it's a beast that we all need to tackle. And I'm going to tell you what is the right way of doing that, what are the right exercises to do, and if exercises will help you at all or not. So welcome to this video. Today's topic is which exercises are right to reduce the waistline. Who am I? I am Ruma. I am a certified fitness trainer. I'm a certified fitness nutritionist, and I'm also a women's fitness specialist from International Sports and Sciences Academy USA and National Academy of Sports Medicines USA. And today's topic is which exercises to do to reduce the waistline. Wow, thank you so much, Ashwini, for dropping in a hi. Thanks for everybody for joining in. So let's get started. So before we understand which exercises to do to reduce the waistline, let's ask what is a waistline. So waistline is the abdomen area. And why does it grow? It grows with age, which we have seen normally, and especially in people above the age of 40. Thank you so much for dropping in the hi. And if you've seen above the age of 40, we suddenly start growing this waistline. So what is happening there? A lot of fat accumulation is happening in our waistline. Now, so the first thing to understand are the concepts, right? And then we can get into action. But until we understand the concept, you will not understand why I am suggesting what I am suggesting and why am I recommending what I am recommending. So there are different kinds of fat in our body, right? One is subcutaneous fat, which is right underneath the layer of your skin, and another is the visceral fat, which deposits around our organs. Now, subcutaneous fat is something that you will be able to figure out just by pinching. If you pinch and something more comes, something more than your skin comes when you're pinching it, then that means that it is a subcutaneous fat, right? It is very superficial. It is right underneath the layer of your skin. The another kind of fat is visceral fat, which deposits around your organs. And your organs are your kidneys, your liver, your pancreas. So it's all situated here, and that is where the visceral fat accumulates around your organs. Now, if you have to ask me between these two, which are the ones I would be worried about as a health practitioner, I will be worried more about the visceral fat. Because what happens is when it gathers around our organs are releasing chemicals, enzymes, it's releasing hormones. So if there is fat around the organs, then these hormones are not getting, they are getting released, but they are not getting access to the bloodstream. It is so much more difficult for them to overcome the layer of fat and then get to our bloodstream. So our body starts behaving suboptimally, right? So a lot of our functions start becoming suboptimal. So two kinds of fat, subcutaneous and visceral. And subcutaneous is something which is not so dangerous. It's easier to get rid of. It's easier to get rid of than it's easier to get rid of the visceral fat. Thank you for all the loves and the likes. Thank you so much. And for rest of the other people, if you're enjoying this session, then please do post in your love and like, right? So the subcutaneous is easier to get rid of. Visceral is difficult to get rid of, and visceral is the one which is more dangerous as well. So, abdominal fat, more than being aesthetic, it doesn't look very aesthetically pleasing when we walk around with a paunch, very nicely styled body but with a big paunch. Doesn't look aesthetically pleasing, but not that much of worrisome for people above the age of 40. What you should worry about is visceral fat. Now, so, folks, there will be a slight delay. This is how the technology works in FB Live. Please keep posting in your questions. What I'm going to do is, after this session, I'll take on all the questions and respond to them, because there's a lag. If I wait for the questions to come in, it will disrupt the flow of the session. So keep posting in your questions in the comment box, and I'll go through each one of them. All right. So now that we know the subcutaneous and visceral fat, if this is something that came into you as an exciting piece of information, the subcutaneous fat is easier to get rid of, then post exciting in the comment box. Exciting in the comment box, please, if you know that subcutaneous is easier to get rid of than the visceral fat. Okay, now exciting in the comment box, please. Now the second thing that we are going to talk about is it really possible to reduce abdominal fat? We hear about spot reduction myths, and we know that spot reduction is not possible because fat is all around in our body. How can I say that please move the fat out of my abdomen but keep the fat in other places intact where we want it, right? Doesn't happen like that. Our body doesn't operate like that. It's not that intelligent. It is intelligent but not that intelligent. So what happens is, number one, spot reduction is not possible. Now, if you're one of those people who do 100 crunches to get rid of your abdominal fat, type I am there, because I did that too long back. I don't do that anymore. I'm a little bit more intelligent now. If you do that, type I do that. I do 100 crunches in a day. Don't worry, this is a completely safe environment. We will be very candid, and I openly share all my mistakes, all the stupidity I've done in my life. So don't worry, please share it, and nobody is going to make fun of you. So if you've done 100 crunches and if you think that 100 crunches is the right way to lose abdominal fat, right, I did it, right? And we will be a tribe of 100 crunches, who did 100 crunches but never lost any abdominal fat. So spot reduction is not possible. So then what's the thing? What we need to do is, fat is all over the body. So if we need to lose abdominal fat, we have to lose it from all over the body, correct? So the first thing we need to do is we need to take help of both diet and exercise for reducing the overall body fat. When we reduce the overall body fat, then along with that, the abdominal fat also goes away. Abdominal fat falls in that category of fat. When you lose fat from all over the body, abdominal fat also goes along with that. Alright? So that is something that we have to do. There is nothing called spot reduction. If you do 100 crunches, it's not going to help you, because I'm going to explain to you why it's not going to help you. And if you want to know why it's not going to help you, then write bring it on in the comment box, BIO in the comment box, and I'll get started with that. I'll tell you why 100 crunches will not work for you. Bring it on in the comment box, and if you're liking what you're seeing so far, then please do put in a love and a like on this video. Okay, now why will abdominal crunches not work is because, now look at the physiology of fat. What happens is, I said fat is, the subcutaneous fat is right underneath your skin. So this is your skin. Thank you. Yes, we are. Bring it on. Yes. Gayatri, bring it on. Yes. So there is the layer of, this is your skin. Right underneath that is your layer of fat, the subcutaneous fat. And underneath that is your muscle. Got it? So skin, fat, and then muscle. So now when you're exercising, you're doing 100 crunches. What are you really doing? We are working the muscle which is lying deep underneath. So skin, fat, muscle. We are exercising our muscles, right? We are doing crunches, we are exercising our muscles. So what's happening is your muscles are getting stronger, which is definitely good. Yeah, you must do that. It's getting stronger. But is it leading to fat reduction? No. Because the muscle is getting exercised, not the fat. You cannot exercise the fat. You can only burn away the fat, right? So the thing is, if it is lying deep down here and underneath the level of fat, this cannot really show until you have melted it away, right? So all the Shah Rukh Khans that you see, the six-pack abs, and Kareena Kapoor's six-pack abs, well, I didn't see it on her, but wherever you see the six-pack abs, what's happened? The fat has melted away, skin is still there, fat has melted away, the muscle has now started showing up. And that is why the definition that you see on the abdomen is the definition of the muscle. With the crunches, you are working your muscle, not your fat. You have to burn the fat with the right exercises and the right diet. Only then with your crunches will your muscles, the definition will start showing up. Got it? Yes, and if you're excited by this information, write excited in the comment box, please, and a love and a like for this video. Right? Don't forget that, because that keeps us excited and motivated for the rest of the session. Okay. So now that we know that your 100 crunches is not going to help you, let's talk about what is going to help you. Life is not that dark. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and we are going to talk about the positive things now. What is going to help? Now, if you have a substantial amount of body fat, what you need to do is first work on reduction of that body fat with the right kind of diet and the exercises, and at this time, so anything, if your body fat percentage is above 30%, then the kind of exercises that will work for you are compound exercises. So compound exercises, again, Gyandan, compound exercises are exercises that move multiple joints at the same time. And what are the joints? Shoulder joint, elbow joint, wrist, hip, knee, ankle, right? All of these are joints. So a compound movement is a movement or an exercise. Compound exercise is an exercise which, when you do, moves multiple joints at the same time. Now see the difference, yeah? When I do a bicep curl, how many joints are moving? Only one joint, right? So this is not a compound exercise. But instead of that, if I do a push-up, say I do a wall push-up, how many joints are moving? My shoulder joint is moving and my elbow joint is moving. So that is a compound exercise. If I do a squat, if I do a squat, how many joints are moving? Look at me from the side. How many joints are moving? We are moving the knee joint, we are moving the hip joint, right? So that is a compound exercise. When we do a lunge, that is a compound exercise, right? So when you have body fat percentage above 30, men or women alike, you should do compound exercises. Second, you should train the large muscle groups of your body. The large muscle groups are the muscles of the chest, muscles of the back, muscles of the hips, and muscles of the legs, right? So chest, back, hips, and legs, not abdominal. Abdominal muscle are very small muscle. No point working the abdomen, doing 100 crunches. That will not work. Do the compound exercises, large muscle group. Because, why? Because when our body fat percentage is above 30%, our primary focus is to lose the fat, right? Because we are trying to work to burn the fat, so the muscle comes upwards, correct? So if the target is fat loss, then compound exercises, larger muscle groups are the kind of exercises that will work, along with interval training. 20 minutes of high interval running, 20 seconds of high interval running with 10 seconds of rest. That will burn your fat. And why does that work? Because that is when you have more muscle in your body, it needs more energy for maintenance. And more energy you need for maintenance, the more it leaches so it takes that energy from the stored fat in your body. Yeah. So when you're even at rest, your body is trying to maintain that muscle mass, and it will start eating that energy from the stored fuel, which is the fat. All right. So that is the funda behind why large muscle groups. So larger the muscle, more the maintenance energy, and more is the fat burn. Got it? So larger muscle group, compound exercises, and again compound exercises because to work larger muscle groups, you need to do compound movements. Most of the larger muscle groups, for example, squats, lunges, push-ups, they all work the large muscle groups, and they are all compound movements if you have noticed. 30% up to, if you are above fat percentage of 30%, then compound exercises, lunges, squats, deadlifts, dumbbell rows, chest presses. These are the push-ups are the exercises that you must do. Work on your muscles. Now, if you're bowled away with this information, then type bowled away in the comment box. Let's keep the energy high, guys. Men and women, keep the energy high. Write bowled away in the comment box, please. And we are going to now the beautiful, the meatier part of the session, right? So bold away in the comment box, please, and I'll move on to the next section of this session. All right. Well, these will become easier for you, Gayatri. The more you do, the easier they become. And I'm here to help you, right? Okay, great. Now, what happens when you have substantially reduced this body fat percentage, right? Substantially reduce this. Now your muscles will start showing up. Now this is the time for you to focus on isolation exercises. And you do that when you are, somewhere around if you're able to bring down your body fat percentage to 25 to 27%, then this is the time for, wow, thank you so much. This is the time for you to start working on isolation exercises. And this is when those 100 crunches will start working. So when you bring your weight down to the body fat percentage to 25 to 27%, start working on the isolation exercises for your abdominal. So they would be your abdominal crunches. The more you work on them, the more they will start becoming bigger. It takes a long time. Abdominal muscles, because they are small, to build substantial mass in them takes longer, right? And so you have to do more number of repetitions. With squats and lunges, you can do 10 to 15, but when you go to crunches, you have to do minimum of 20 to 25. Those kind of figure I'm giving you, those are the kind of repetitions you need to do. You need to do more of them because these are smaller muscle groups. They need more working from your side. Yeah, so crunches, abdominal crunches, then leg raises, those are the ones. And do not worry, folks, I will post as soon as this live video is over, I'll post a playlist of the abdominal exercises and the compound exercises for you separately in the description of this video. I'm sorry, I got a call. I told you I'm in the middle of a bad technical glitch right now. But I'm so glad and I'm so thankful to the audience for the patience and staying put with me in this video. So thank you so much. So yes, abdominal crunches, leg raises, reaching crunches, side dips. These are the exercises that you can do to build the definition on of your abdomen. Now, this is the exact same strategy that we follow in all our Navitai's program as well. The initial stage is just focused on fat loss. And the later stages, when the fat percentage has come down to about 25 to 26%, that is the time we start working on the smaller muscle group to build the definition. Alright, so that brings me, I hope you found it super valuable. If you found this information exciting and you liked what you saw and you liked what you heard, then please post a love and a like for this video. Alright, and I am ready to take your question. That brings me to the end of the session and I'm ready to take your questions. I'll just scroll a little bit. You may see me squinting. Please bear with me. Hi. Thank you so much for all the lovely highs. Exciting, great. Because I get the... Thank you. I'm looking for some questions. That's why I'm scrolling. Thank you, Didi. Reena. Alright. So I'm going to bring it a little closer to my eyes. Please don't mind. You'll see a close-up version of me. Someone has serious... So Reena, yes, if you have serious health condition, so when we share information in this video, it is more for a general population. If you have deeper health condition, it will be advisable to work with a knowledgeable health consultant, a fitness consultant, a doctor to get more personalized advice. Yeah. And I'm here for you, Reena, so you can ping me anytime and I'll be happy to help you with your questions. But yes, but again, for any health condition, no matter what it be, we have worked with people with PCOS, we have worked with people with hypothyroidism, and you know that with these kind of conditions, it is very difficult for women to lose weight, and even for men who have hypothyroidism. The hypothyroidism is more common in women, but women with the right kind of food and the right kind of exercises have been able to reduce their body fat percentage, yeah, and a lot of their abdominal fat. Okay. What should be the diet, Triveni? All right. So, thank you so much for that question, Triveni. The diet would be, should be more of whole grains. Say no to sugar. I hope you saw the last video of the last Friday's live session. We waged a war against sugar. So say no to sugar. Say no to sugar, no to rice, bring in more whole grains. Rice is not bad, but the kind of rice, the refined kind of rice that we get nowadays is not helping us lose weight. These are all empty carbohydrates. You get good quality of carbohydrates from whole grains like the wheat, ragi, jawar, bajra, rava. These are good kind of carbohydrates. So have more of whole grains. Which is these grains, whole food, which are pulses like dal, dal, sprouts, legumes, then fruits and vegetables, right? Then the other thing would be increase the intake of protein in your diet. If you are a vegetarian, you could look at paneer, you could look at soya products for your protein intake. If you are a non-vegetarian, then you can look at chicken, fish, egg. These are the common ones. Increase the amount of protein, have protein in all the meals, breakfast, lunch and dinner. Increase whole grains, say no to sugar, no to rice, and you should start seeing a lot of benefit. Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Triveni. We have some more. All right, what do you do if someone has like, all right, Reena, I think I answered that. All right, so I think those are all the questions. I have one more coming in. Yes. See, yes, you're right. You know, in South India, we do consume a lot of rice, and not just in South India, in a lot of the other places in India also, like the east of India. I'm from east of India, and we consume a lot of rice. And as I said, rice is not wrong. You know, our ancestors grew up in rice, but look at the lifestyle our ancestors had. You know, they used to work in the field. They used to work. They used to do really heavy physical work. And look at us, what do? I'm conducting this live session sitting in the comfort of my home, in my drawing room, and didn't even move. You know, it's all about fitness, and all I did was to show you one exercise. That is our lifestyle now, right? So if you compare that lifestyle, they could manage that amount of rice. We will not be able to manage that amount of rice. However, because we are Indians, we will be able to manage much more rice than what an American or a Westerner would be able to. Because our digestive system is built in such a way that we are more carbohydrate tolerant than the people in the West. They are more protein tolerant, right? So you're right. Your observation is perfectly right. In India, we consume a lot of rice, but the kind of rice we get, just be a little mindful of the kind of rice. If you have the Kerala rice or the brown rice, the boiled rice, they are a better variety of rice than the regular refined white rice that we are so used to eating now, because they take lesser time to cook, they taste better, they look good, they are whiter in color. So with all of these, you know, with our lifestyle and our eating is not, it's not in balance anymore. I hope that answers your question. Yes, absolutely, Didi. I think the exercise and the right kind of food can bring a lot of control on different thyroid levels. Thank you so much for sharing that. Ashwini, yes, running will be much effective. Wow, Ashwini, great question. Thank you so much for asking that. Ashwini, running is great. Running is a very good form of exercise. I run thrice a week, and you know, it is not just as an exercise, but also it releases a lot of your emotional stress. I look at running as a time to relieve myself of the entire day's working stress. However, here is about running. When you do long distance running, have you seen the marathon runners? So just visualize two kinds of people. One kind of people, marathon runners, right, who run long distance, long duration runs without stopping. And then think about the runners who do sprint running, like the our I'm forgetting the name. Just think about the sprint runners, the 100-meter race runners. Have you seen the difference in their how they look on their body? The people who run long distance are very lean. They have very less muscle in their body, and people who run sprint, like the 100-meter short distance, short duration, they are much more bulkier in terms of muscle. Why is that happening? See, the moment you do long distance running, it leaches away the muscle from our body, because that amount of glycogen and that amount of glucose is not running in our body to continue to supply the energy that is needed for a 1 hour, 2 hour kind of a run. However, the immediate glycogen and the immediate sugar that is available in our body can very well support a 100-meter run, which 10 seconds, right? So anything which is of a shorter duration will conserve your muscle. The moment there is no glycogen in your muscle and no glucose in your blood, it starts eating the energy from your muscle. And that is why marathoners do not have very bulkier muscle. Yeah. So, and if you do not have higher muscle mass, then your metabolism is going down. Running is an absolutely great form of exercise, absolutely. But you need to understand how to balance, how much of running to do, so that it preserves your muscle mass as well. Yeah? Hope that answers your question. Gayatri, can't do intense running, slow running be good for fat burning? Hi, Gayatri, yes, slow running would be good for fat burning, of course, but then what happens is you will have to run for long duration. So again, the same what I just explained will come into play. The moment you do long duration run, it will start leaching away your muscle mass, and that will kind of defeat the purpose of the entire thing. However, Gayatri, what you could do is, if it's you could do exercises like the Tabata interval exercises, and I can, if there is demand, I can share that link also here, where you do 20 seconds of high intense exercises and 10 seconds of rest, right? And those exercises can be anything. Those could be your push-ups, your jump squats, and those kind of exercises. 20 seconds of those with 10 seconds of rest. Yeah, that could be a very good alternative to your interval running. Many people have condition of the knees, of the condition of the hips. We do not advise running for them. Interval running especially not for them. But we advise a Tabata interval training for them. Hope that helps. Yeah, climbing stairs is extremely good. Will walking be of any use? Trivedi, that's a great question. Walking, yes, walking is great, and we covered this in one of the prior videos as well. But walking gives you, for people who are completely sedentary, for the first 1 to 1.5 months, so for the first 4 to 6 weeks, walking helps. But after that, you need a little bit more intense form of exercise because your body adapts. Any kind of exercise that you do, your body adapts for the next 4 to 6 weeks. It's good only for 4 to 6 weeks. It expires after 4 to 6 weeks. It will not give you any benefit. Walking similarly will give you benefit only till that time, 4 to 6 weeks, if you are starting. And if you have walked for 4 to 6 weeks, after that, no matter how much you walk, it only gives us a mental pleasure, relaxation, going out, social, a social meeting with our friends over a walk. But health benefits, no. But still, it's better than doing nothing at all. So if you're not doing anything, you still have to get your 10,000 steps in a day, right? So you should definitely get that. But over and beyond that, you have to increase your level of exercises. I hope that answers your question, Trivedi. I'm squinting, bringing my face in front of the camera. Please bear with me. One male saying running is Yeah, so I hope I clarified that. Walking is needed, but beyond a certain point. See, another thing. So we covered this in the last video as well, Ashwini. See what happens with any exercise. To be known as an exercise, the heart rate has to go to a certain level, right? And we call it the target heart rate. So there is a concept of maximal heart rate, which is 220 minus our age. That is a maximal heart rate. Between 80 to 90% of that figure, we should take our heart rate to in order to get cardiovascular benefit for any exercise. Yeah, to get a benefit of your heart, we have to take our heart rate to that level. Now just check with walking how much heart rate it is taking to. So do the simple calculation, Ashwini. 220 minus your age, right? So I'll do it from my side. I'm 220 minus 45, it will be 175 for me, and I'll take 80% of that. All right, 0.8, I'll do a 0.8 of that. It will come somewhere around 150 to 155. If by doing an exercise I'm not taking my heart rate to 155, then that is not giving me any benefit at all. So walking does not take it to 155. If you note, your heart rate will maximal go to 100, 110, that's about it. So walking is good, as I said, definitely good. You should not be sedentary. You should get your 10,000 steps in a day. But over and beyond that, you have to do exercises to get cardiovascular benefit, because walking is a type of cardiovascular exercise. To get cardiovascular benefit, you have to exercise at the intensity of 150 or 155. Sorry, for me it's 150, 155 minimal. But for you, just do that calculation. Yeah, I hope that helps. Okay. Thanks so much. Great. Thank you so much. And I'll be here every Friday 5 to 5:30 bringing in valuable topics for you. And now if you want to hear on some specific topic, please do message me, let me know, and I'll talk about that topic. All right. And if you like this video, if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to do a like and a love, and do not forget to like our page, which is Davita, which is where this live session is happening. Do not forget to do that. And I'll see you next Friday without fail, 5 o'clock. All right. I'll be back again. See you. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you. Bye bye.